преподавателка от университета в Сарагоса в Испания, който е архитект и ще ни разкаже за развитието на социалната и урбанистична тъкан на града. Казва се Изабел Ескера, доцент е в университета в Сарагоса. И ако имате каквито и да е въпроси, разбира се, винаги може да вдигнете ръка, както на нашите лекции. Така че надявам се да бъде полезно за всички. Благодаря за вашето участие. Изабел, please.
Hi, so thank you very much, Vanen. Good morning, everyone. I am Isabel Eskera, architect and specialized in urbanism from the University of Saragossa. And I'm going to talk today about urban morphology and public space that are my principal interest of my research. Throughout the morning, I'm going to talk to you about various topics, all of them related with public space. And I plan to start with an introduction and theoretical introduction to the context, but probably we are going to pass very quickly through it. Then I'm going to speak to you about my city, about Saragosa and its historical evolution, because to end, I'm going to explain two of my research, one local research and my thesis, my doctoral thesis, that are based in Saragosa. So in this way you can explain better the city and the public space in which that researchers are based in. So just to start, in recent decades, special interest has been pointed out into public space. And when we talk about public space, there are three questions that we always have to question and pay attention to, because they can give us the key to whether it is a good public space or how we can design a good public space. How is that space? Are there any spatial characteristics that stimulate its use? And how is the space used? Because if we pay attention to how people use the space, we are going to realize some of the truth. Who uses, no? Which people use the space, because not all the spaces are plain for all people. And of course, where the activity plays in the public space. But thirdly, as I said, we are going to start with an overview of the critical visions of the modern urbanism, which in a way led to the interest in the city, in the city public space nowadays. The expression other urbanism that I choose is an attempt to bring attention to the main urban visions coexisting from the Second World War through the 80s. These include approaches most linked to internal debates next to the themes, and others developed in parallel to functional urbanism. Architectural and urban planning historiography has explained in detail how publication of the version of the Athens Charter by Serge and by Le Corbusier contribute to the dissemination of the function of the functionalist urbanism in that decade. We have here the most publications, no? And mass housing estates, which are one of the urban growth in my research is based in, were conceived according to the approaches of the urban functionalism, no, of the Athens Charter, where the forms of plain and project urban growth was widely used between the 50s and 70s in the last century. The urgent need to provide dwellings, no, resulting from the rural exodus and accentuated in some cases from the damage of the Second World War, was the motive, no, of that urgent need of dwellings that we suffer. This means that in that period, the similarities in the field of mass housing construction were greater than ever around all Europe and also the United States. And despite the fact that, as has been demonstrated in several studies, the evolution were different through the years. In fact, we have to remember that at the same time that these massive housing estates started its construction and they developed around the world, start also the criticism to that forms of urban growth. The first criticisms of these housing estates began in the 60s, and there were differences between the criticisms that directly were based on the applied of the terms of the functional urbanism and the critics that attacks directly to their principles. No? That kind of critics focus the qualification of the public space of functional urbanism and the poor urban quality that arose from that kind of urban growth. Literature and cinema were also participants of that kind of criticisms, and in this photograph by Elizabeth Niggemeier, we can see portrayed the empty space with little vitality. No, in that, well, it doesn't work, but in the right photography, you could see the empty space with little vitality that the modern and massive society built, revealing its strong rejection of the homogeneity of the new urban landscape compared to the vibrant space of the ordinary city or the traditional city that you can see in the left photograph. After the ATM that was titled The Heart of the City and took place in 1951, sorry. And particularly the 9th YAM that took place 2 years after, there was a fundamental turning point with attention now focusing on more conventional urban layouts and particularly more humanized vision after the failure of modern urbanism. From other perspectives, other trends and visions took place parallel to functionalists, and among them those of modernist townscape, the new subdiscipline of urban design, and other critical vision on the dehumanization. Here we have the book of Gordon Cullen, which arose the concept of townscape that permit those architects and urban planners to provide a modern focus on urban forms that were different from the dominating paradigms, both that of garden cities and Corbusierian views. Beyond those theoretical approaches, the exhibition held on London's South Bank in 1951 for the Festival of Britain could be considered a representative sample of the renewal visions of architectural and landscape urbanism. On the other side of the Atlantic, the newly appointed Dean of Harvard Graduate School, José Luis Sert, a Spanish architect, promote urban design, updating the traditional views of civic design, and in the important Urban Design Conference that took place in 1956. It was also during the same period when Eames started his research on the perception of cities and visual urbanism with Gregory Gibbs and Donald Appleyard, and his seminal work, that is the one that we have on the screen, The Image of the City, had a big relevance on the development of other approaches to urbanism that were much more focused on the quality of urban landscapes. Among other critical visions on the dehumanization of modern urbanism is that of Jane Jacobs, the activist who opposed urban renewal and whose The Death and Life of Great American Cities became one of the few bestsellers on urbanism in the 20th century. Another fundamental critical contribution is by Christopher Alexander, who in his famous paper of 1965 called A City is Not a Tree, oppose the tree-like structure of cities plan, according to the modernist principles, to the complex grid-like structures of traditional cities. In view of the advance of the new modern paradigms that reacted to cities of the industrial era, with proposal of open urbanism and low density, we have the other visions that took, have a look to the historical city and the morphological perspective that developed in the Italian country for the school of Saverio Muratori in Venezia, and also an attention to the architecture of the city in the vision of Autors, with this seminal book, Architectura de la Città. The respect for historical cities is patterned in a text by Rowe and Fred Coeter, published in 1978 under the title of Collage City, which was highly influenced in those years, with architects such as James Stirling, whose work will become narrative from that moment on, conceived with references to the ancient city, collage and also landscape. On the right side of the slide, you could see also a proposal made by two architects, two Spanish architects and urbanists, Rafael Moneo and Solá Morales, which were for the city of Saragosa. Then we will see what place was the proposal for, and that were related to all this movement of the historical city and intervention of the consolidated city. So after that pretty walk around these seminal works, I would like to answer it, or to ask you if do you know some of that works, which one do you know, which one have you studied, or which one do you have read in your free time? None of them? Okay, it's just curiosity because I don't know what are the studies that you developed here, so I like to compare and to know what are the works that you take as a basement for your studies. Okay, so the second part of this introduction was deepening the gender perspective that nowadays is gaining value in Spain, but I must say that I'm not an expert. I'm just starting to go into it, so I'm going to pass through it because you have here, if you want, some links to go into. So as I will give you the presentation, if you are interested in, you can go in. I saw Jane Jacobs, that was one of the protagonists that I mentioned before, because she is considered one of the pioneers of that kind of perspective, and we have to think that she was not an architect. She was a journalist, but she was a conscious citizen, and that was that her look into the city was made work about their studies and in their books. That's about gender perspective. As I said, you will have it into the presentation. Of course, it also reacts to modern urbanism and to functional. But we are going to deep into Saragosa, so as we have time to see all the rest of the presentation. Also Jangel, that is one of the persons that continue the trajectory of Jane Jacobs. He admits that Jane Jacobs was his most important reference, and I also take him here because my research in the doctoral thesis used many of his analysis, the analysis that he proposed in one of the last publications that speaks about how to study public life.
Actually, if I may interject, Jan Gehl came a few times here.
Yeah.
He's a doctor honoris causa of our university, and we have that book translated in Bulgarian. We're selling it here.
Oh, very nice.
But he's a really, really great urbanist and thinker.
I love.
Very popular person.
Okay, I also took some examples of the gender perspective, but I said you have the links to the website that probably explains much better than me their work, so you have them in the presentation. And we are going to move. This is an example in my city. It is not from an architectural perspective, it is from a geographical perspective. There is a group of geographers all around the world. One group is in Saragosa, but they also work in South America and other countries of Europe. And they have cartography, the names of the city that has a woman's name. And you can see in the map, the yellow one that are the streets that have a name of a woman, the green ones that have the names of a man, and the gray ones that are neutral names. No? Just to visualize the importance and the recognition that women have in the city in a way that could be the names on the street. And in Saragosa is relevant one promotion. You can see here that in that neighborhood the names of women are very profuse, and that were an initiative of the public council, and they decided to name all the streets from that neighborhood with women's writer names.
Oh, men's writers' names.
Yeah. This is another project, and not actually made from a gender perspective, but I'm also very interested in cartography and on maps. And this is from an architectural signature from Barcelona that are urbanists, and they work a lot with cartography. And they make a project where ask people how they feel in different public spaces. They have to choose between two photographs. It was a participatory project. So they show you two photographs, and you have to select which one were more likely to you. So they relate some parameters, some spatial parameters to each of that photographies. So as people were answering to that kind of interview, the map was built itself. And they built the streets in two colors, related that it were preferred by women or it were preferred by men. You have here the methodology with the photographies, the parameters that they related to, and you have also seen the website on the research. And now, yes, we are going to move to Saragosa to go into my research work, to present the places where my research work took place. And I wanted to give you a little introduction. If you have curiosity, when we end with the research work, we can go deeper with Saragossa city, if you are interested in, but I prepare a little presentation, a historical one. Well, does anyone knows Saragossa? Have you heard about the city? Yeah? Really?
Yeah.
Have you stayed? Have you been there?
No.
Okay.
Sorry, no.
Okay, years ago some people knew the city because of the football team, but nowadays the football team is not very successful, so people usually don't know the city of Saragossa. You can see on the map where it is located and the distance that now separates us from the city, from Varna to Saragossa, almost 3,000 kilometers. Well, I suppose that all of you knows Madrid or Barcelona.
Yes.
So Zaragoza is located just in the middle point between those big Spanish cities. So it has a very good strategical position in the map of Saragossa because it is a meeting point, and in recent years it has become a logistic center for transport, for conferences, for encounters, meetings. So it has gained relevance in the Spanish panorama. I also must say that it is the fourth largest city in the country. Madrid and Barcelona are of course the first and the second one. Valencia is the third one, and nowadays Zaragoza is the fourth, competing with Seville, that is now the fifth, but it changes very, very constantly. So Zaragoza is an intermediate city size. As you can see in the image with the graphic scale references, it has about the consolidated city are about 7 kilometers long and also in height. So it's an intermediate city, and it's also a very comfortable city because of the scale, because of the position, and also because of the urban transport system, and also because its topography is almost plain. So it's a very walkable city. It's very comfortable to go by walk from one side to another because there are not long distances, and the way is comfortable to go by walk or also by bicycle. That in the last years has improved the system of cyclable walks. So it is also very, very nice, has a big cultural offer, but as I won't seem like an agency travel person, I'm going to talk to you about the history of the city, paying attention to the main public spaces and main monuments that were developed in each time of the city.
The question, how big is Saragossa actually?
The number of population?
How many people?
Yes.
About 700,000.
So it's almost twice larger than Varna. Yes.
Varna is about 300.
Yes.
Yes.
So it's not an intermediate by Bulgarian terms. It's a large city.
Comparison to, of course, Madrid and Barcelona.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Madrid and Barcelona are bigger, not just the city that they are very large cities, but also the metropolitan area that is very connected with the cities because much of the people nowadays from Barcelona or from Madrid lives in the metropolitan area, the towns that are around the city, and make a met with the principal city. If we consider the metropolitan area, Barcelona and Madrid are about between Madrid, I think 5 million people, and it can go almost 10 million people if we consider the metropolitan area in the whole. So the comparison between Saragosa and Madrid or Barcelona is like we are in an intermediate city. Okay, so we could see here the origins of Saragossa city. Saragossa has its origin in the Roman city of Caesar Augusta, of the emperor that built it, and the name that gives name to the city. No? Caesar Augusta derives in the Arabic period in Saracusta, and then it derives in Saragossa. So a few vestiges remains of that period, of the Roman period, are barely 80 meters of the Roman wall that we can see here reconstructed. In that period, it is supposed to reach 3,000 meters and almost 120 towers. But nowadays we just conserved 8 meters of the Roman wall that are placed into space of the city, that one and this one. But the Roman wall that is in that side is not very well conserved and is inside other buildings that were built after the Roman period. So this is a reconstruction of the Roman city because the only building that we conserve from that period is the Roman theater and probably the axis of the Roman city, not the tissue, but just the cardo and the decumannus maximo of the Roman city. We can see here a comparison between the Roman city and the actual one. And we can see in the pictures below the Roman theater that you could recognize here and here in the actual photograph of the city. We have also many rings of the Foro, of the Roman Foro, but they are covered. The Roman Foro was placed here, and we can see nothing here because it is below the actual city. We have a museum to visit them. The Roman walls that I mentioned in that place, near to the central market, and the walls that are inside other buildings on the other side of the city. We also recognize, as I said, the cardo, no? the axe that comes from the north to the south of the city in the actual tissue of the Zaragoza Roman period, and the decumannus, no? the axis that comes from the west till the east. And the cardo, no? the north-south axe finishes in the Puente de Piedra, the Piedra Bridge, that is placed in the same place that the Roman bridge took place in that period. You can see the Roman bridge that we didn't conserve, and the Puente de Piedra that is in the photography below, that were built afterwards, and also you can see from that view the two cathedrals of the city. The Cathedral of the Pilar, that is the main one, and the Cathedral of La Ser, that is here. And then we are going to speak about it. And in the decumannus, in the west-east axe, we can still see in the solstice, winter solstice, I don't know if the word, you could understand the word, the day that in which the night is the shorter of the year, when the sun goes up, the axis completely marks the sunrise, and you can see it in the Decumanus Maximus of the city. It's like an event of the city because you can mark the sunrise. Then we have also an Arabic period that took place from the 8th century till the 12th century, when the Catholic, the Catholic kings started with the reconquest of the Spanish territory, and we can see that the Roman city expanded after the walls of the Roman city in many suburbs, placed almost in the western side and the east side and in the south. Just a little development took place in the other side of the river. From that period, we didn't conserve any building apart from the Aljaferia Palace that you could see in that image. If we can go back, is that one that was also in the outside of the walls of the city. It was a king's palace that was in the outside part, with the garden and with all the courtyards. So we can see it in the actual photo of the city, and we must say that it's the only palace that is conserved in Spain from the Taifas period of the Arabic period of the country. We can see some images here of that palace. That is a very important touristic point in the city nowadays. This plan that we see now is from 1850, and it shows the city growth that barely changed from the Arabic period for more than 7 centuries. We continue growing inside the medieval walls that was around the Arabic developments. And however, we can see many of the landmarks of the current city in that plan. We can see the cathedral, the Basilica del Pilar, that is the main one of the city, and you can see in the photograph. We can also see the second cathedral, that is the Laseo. Laseo was a mezquita before, and it keeps so many walls that are in the Arabic period and with Arabic characteristics. We can also see the church of San Pablo, that is the neighborhood that was developed in the Arabic western suburb. You can see here the photograph. And also old hospice that now is the main building of the comarcal council, which is the Pignatelli. Okay, in terms of urbanism developments or change, also in that period, we can see in that plan this big avenue that is a boulevard named Paseo de la Independencia, which was built in the late 19th century. Also, it was planned before, and it is related with the independence war that Spain took place with France, and that's why the name of the boulevard. We also keep the Cardo and the Decumans axis in this plan, as in the nowadays city. The place where the Roman walls took place, that in that period were also transformed into a big avenue around the historical city, and the medieval walls that rounded all the developments that took place in the Arabic period, the medieval period, and until the 19th century. Okay, this is the 20th early century plan, and it recognized the batteries. A moment, because a message came up saying that battery is coming down, but I think that battery is connected. So I don't know why. Was not properly connected, but that works. Okay, so this is the 20th century plan that recognizes all that buildings that we have mentioned, and in addition it shows Paseo de la Independencia, no? This big avenue or boulevard that we also have mentioned, with the first plane extension of the city that is placed on the right side of this paseo. That is a residential development that was also built in that period, and related to an exhibition that took place in the beginning of the 20s, commemorating the 100 years that have passed after the Guerra de la Independencia, no? The independence war of Spain, where the city of Saragosa was really damaged. This is the extension, the exhibition that took place in that place in the early 20th century. And also, I have remarked another public space that completely changed in that period. That was the square where the market took place in the city. That was a public space, an open space. And in that period, the city built a building, no? For that use, that was the current central market of the city. You can see in the photography the open space with the street market that was in that place in the beginning of the 20th, and the central market that was built in the last part of the 20th century, of the 19th century, sorry. That was completely inspired in the industrial architecture, no? In the stations, train stations that was being built in that period, with the steel and with glass. This is the 1939 plan that substantially modified part of the historical city center. With hygienic and structured visions, large streets and public space were open. If you remember the previous one, the historic city was almost completely built up. You can see a few open spaces and very little open spaces. And if we change to that one, that is the plan of the 1939, there are many axes that are open. I think they are remarked. the Pillar Square, the main square of the city, that was open and connect the two cathedrals, varied all the blocks, the urban blocks that were in between. Nowadays, it doesn't have exactly that spatial form, but that was the plan that planned all the open of the square. And you have a photography of that huge open space of the city. There, it was also open the Calle Alfonso, that is one of the main streets in the historical center. It's a street for pedestrians with a lot of shops, many restaurants, and it's the most touristic one. As you can see in that image, it goes directly to the center of the cathedral, the main cathedral, that curiously don't have the door in the center. It has the doors in the sides, in the four sides, in the four corners. Also the San Vicente Paul Street, Conde Aranda, Cesar Augusto Avenue, that ends in one of the doors of the medieval wall, the only one that is conserved till nowadays, which is the Puerta del Carmen, that you can see in the photograph that is placed in the end of that avenue. And also another axis that was never built up or open, as we have, as the look we have to it. And that was the one we have seen before. That was the proposal from Rafael Moreno and Manuel de Sola Morales for the conquest of the Saragosa city. It was a continuity with the Paseo de la Independencia till the Plaza del Pilar, but finally it was never done. This is a plan from the 1940s. And this was the moment where the planning began to plan the growth of the city, which between the 1950s and the 1960s suffered a disproportional and often uncontrolled growth. This map from the 1958 shows the growth of the working class neighborhood of the first periphery, on which we will later see that the thesis will focus on, and that were all the great development that are marked in the map. This is the Las Puentes neighborhood, San Jose, Torrero. This is the Delicias, Oliver, and the Arrabal or Picarral neighborhoods in the other side of the river banks. As we can see, the other side of the river banks was always like a wall. The river was a wall to the city at a moment that we decided to pass it and to continue the development on the other side. And we are going to jump till nowadays, as this plan is the moment of the research that I developed in my theoretical thesis, so I didn't continue. We can continue later if you have curiosity in any other parts of the city or any other buildings, maybe modern ones. But I have jumped to the current moment when we can see the actual Zaragoza city. I have remarked some new developments. This is not as new as the others that we are going to see. This is the one that, if you remember the map, the Woman Street map was completely yellow. This is a development from the 80s and 90s, from the past century. And the newest one, development, has jump the third belt of the city, you can see, maybe not properly, but the third belt of the city is the one that involves the consolidated growth of the city, and outside that third belt we have another one, the fourth belt of the city, and in between of those two belts that are placed the new developments of the city. This is Valdespartera neighborhoods that were developed in the moment of the International Expo that took place in the 2008 in the city. Also the Parque Venecia neighborhoods, and the biggest one that is urbanized but not built at all. Almost half of the neighborhood is built up, but it was a very problematic development and controversial development of the city, that is Arcosur. If you compare the dimension of that neighborhood, it's like all the development that has taken place till the 90s of the last century. So it's a biggest one and not successful ever. And the latest one that is inside the third belt of the city, that is not a planned neighborhood, not a planned development, just the consolidation of the vacant plots of the city. And that's the evolution of the city. Maybe after the break we can go with the research of the public spaces. And if you have any questions.
Just about two of the areas that you mentioned. Well, that one you said it was not planned. What did you mean? It was not a planned development.
That is not a. They are like unitary actions. It's a partial plan that develops all the neighborhood, that plans all the.
Yeah, master plan.
Yeah.
A master plan. So
they have a master plan. They are buildings, urban blocks that are built with private initiative, but they are not part of a master plan. They are just.
There was no master plan, but of course they did have detailed plans. The private owners, private entrepreneurs developed probably their own detailed plans without a master plan.
For sure, and all of them are inside the general urban plan of the city, so that one are considered in the general urban plan. They have the plots, the limit of the plots, the limit of the street, but it's a consolidated.
No, the land use was not fixed.
Yeah.
The land use, okay, and the largest one, you said that it was urbanized but not developed. What do you mean by urbanized? It was just planned and probably infrastructure was developed?
Yeah, infrastructure, streets, but they are not buildings. Yes, you can see.
But the infrastructure was developed, yes. Yes, this is very, I think it's specific for Spain. I mean, there are some, not many, but there are, let's say, a number of such situations where infrastructure is developed and ready to be developed by, well, buildings to be built. Because in Bulgaria we have no such case. Okay, this is
usually in the 90s, early 20s, that occurred in many cities, many Spanish cities. That the development, the neighborhood.
When in 19?
The 90s decade.
In the 19th decade, because I thought that this was a form of development that has been established, so to say, in Spain after the Second World War. I mean, it was, as far as I heard from colleagues, we have discussed it sometimes, it's probably some kind of Franco policy to develop some area, only the infrastructure, and then let private companies develop it. So this is
that correct? They develop the area, a plan, a master plan develop the growth, the council develop the urbanization and the infrastructure, and the owners, the private owners, must develop the building, but it's not.
But does it always happen? Is this some kind of widely spread principle in Spain that well, the local government or high government will decide that this area is to be developed, and that you always need, I mean, first to develop a plan for an area to develop an area, you first need to start with the plan. Because some smaller developments might happen without preliminary developing an urban plan. It's not.
It was usually in the 50s and 60s of the last century that was where the urban growth was.
Because this is very, very different from Greece, for instance, especially in Greece till the 60s, usually, actually 90% of new developments in the outskirts of cities were developed, I mean, without plans, actually. They were informal, actually. And in Spain you would rather have very, very high degree of legal development, so to say. I mean, it's only first should be in the plans of the municipality, and then this development is allowed only after the municipality has planted. Okay.
But most of the times, and in that decades at all, there were plans, but the development doesn't fit the plans at all. The social developments, the municipal one, the municipality, but the other, the ordinary development of the city, doesn't.
See, this would be expected. I mean, because it's a top-down process planning, and then it does not always coincide with the intentions of those who want to develop the area. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much.